Alright, so we're going to do a tutorial on how to fill out the assignment on paper airplanes and the scientific method. And one of the things that I needed you guys to first fill out are part 1, 2, and 3. And the first part is just your basic question on what you were going to be modifying on your airplane. So as an example, I know I said to a lot of the classes that you could do something along the lines of like, how will positioning the weight, a weight on the nose, midsection, or end of a paper airplane affect how far it flies? And so if you recall, I did 3 paper airplanes with paper clips at different parts of the plane. And then for the background research, guys, I did tell you that you could look on the internet, ask that same question, and just write a couple of facts that you saw that seem to be important for this particular experiment. You're also going to state your hypothesis. The best way of stating it is you could start by saying, I believe that the airplane with, and then just state your modification. In my case, it would be, I could say the one with the paper clip on the nose or the paper clip on the midsection or whatnot will fly further because, and then you're going to give just a little brief explanation on, based on your background research, why you think it's going to fly further. Alright, turning your paper over to the back, you're going to find out that you're going to start writing your procedure. Okay, so it says write a little bit about your 3 airplanes here. So what I did is I put plane with weight on nose, plane with weight on midsection, plane with weight on tail end. So it's up to you. Maybe you could say plane that was so many inches in length, plane with so many inches in length here, and then continue with the other one. Okay, for each one, as you do your procedures are pretty much done for you. And you're going to do 5 trials for each plane. You can go ahead and also jot them down here and write down how many feet. Remember that each square on the tiles is about a foot long, approximately. It's a little bit less, but it gives you an estimation of more or less how many feet it would be. Now, if you're doing an actual experiment for yourself, you want to be exact on your measurements. In this case, we're gonna say approximately what length it's traveling. Okay, so then we come to our materials. For our materials, make sure that you're writing down the amounts that you used. Remember that I gave everybody 3 sheets of paper, and it's an 8.5 by 11 paper. If you cut it down, please write down the size of your paper. And then in my case, I used 3 paper clips. If you didn't use paper clips, don't put any. Maybe use tape. Make sure that you write down how much tape. Okay, as you're collecting the data, remember that you pretty much have your data here, and all you have to do is transfer it to this section. So here's my first airplane, my second airplane, my third. Now, remember, based on your modifications, just give a brief explanation of what they are. For me, I just wrote down nose, mid, and end. If you're doing length of plane, just do, put maybe the inches of each plane. If you're doing wing, I don't know, you could say one wing with one bend, one bent wing or 2 bent wing or whatnot. Just a very brief description. Okay, so you put all your amounts, you average them. You do that for all 3 planes, and then you're going to start analyzing your data. Now, if you read your paper, it says that when you're comparing data, a bar graph is probably the most appropriate graph to use, and that's exactly what I did. So I did airplane 1. This shows me that the one with the nose is at 7.3. This is going to be your distance, and I went ahead and changed it to feet. I went ahead and wrote the numbers on the graph, and then of course based on maybe yours goes 20 feet, so you might have to do it by 2s. It just depends, but you're always going to start at 0. So then here's my first airplane at 7.3, so that's approximately 7.3. And then this one was at 10.4, approximately 10.4, and then last but not least at 6.2. So if I look at this data, it shows me that airplane 2 is going to travel further than the other 3. Alright, so you're pretty much down to the end. So now you're going to draw your conclusions. So you're going to say the hypothesis, and again you can state whatever you thought initially over here. I believe that they are plane width, so you could say my hypothesis with the airplane with whatever traveling further is accepted or rejected. You have to pick one. So was your hypothesis correct? You would hit, or you would write down accepted, and if it was incorrect, you would write down rejected. The data shows that the plane width, and then just write the modification, flew further by so many feet. And then you keep going. The results of this investigation are useful because they show that paper airplanes with, and then whatever modification it was, fly further than those, and then the other two that weren't successful. Write about what you could have done differently when it's asking you, how can this investigation be improved? Think about the things that you thought, I should have done this, I should have done that. Okay, this is a section to write it on. And then it says other questions that need to be answered are, think about what other investigations you can do with the same project. How can you take it further? What else can you do in order to make it maybe more challenging, or check some other variable? And then last but not least, once you're at this point, our communicating results will be pretty much where we do the challenge. And that's where you pick out of the 3 planes that you guys tested, pick the one that flew further, and that's the one that you're going to use to put into flight. And make sure that everything is done prior to you getting ready to see which plane flew further. So in order for you to win or to even enter this competition, you must have completed everything on your procedures page, or your background research. Everything has to be filled out. If you have any questions, you let me know.